It's Anathea, your divine feminine educator, and I'm a little bit nervous on this one because it's really close to my very, very vulnerable heart. Woo! So I have notes, and this is what I'm going to be talking about is men's abuse of power. Influential men's abuse of power, especially over younger women. You see, I was a younger woman. I was in my 20s, and I know what it was like when I was in my 20s. Okay, so what I want to share though is a dream I had as well. What has recently unfolded in the last few days is a community that I'm associated with, an astrological community that I'm associated with. I've done some workshops and I've watched a lot of educational stuff and really seen the leaders and honored the leaders and really looked up to the leaders and loved their astrology and loved learning their astrology. One of the leaders was called out by a younger woman for actually two. I haven't even delved into all of the things that have happened because there's a lot that's going on the internet right now. But a woman was called out. One of the leaders was called out by a woman, and another woman called out. And I think that when women start coming out, then more women have the courage to come out. And after talking to one of the women yesterday and talking to another woman yesterday about it that are in the community, boy, oh boy, I mean, it just, all of it started bubbling up inside of me as well. All of this generational energy of abuse of power. So I'm going to share my dream. I want to talk about this abuse of power. Why is it happening? And what needs to change? I literally went to bed last night with a journal and with a flashlight because I was like, I could feel the energy in my body, and I was asking myself, where is that energy? Where is it residing? And it was residing literally in every single cell in my body, like it needed to get out. But then it was also, again, and I'm very familiar with this energy in my throat, and I've been working a lot with this energy in my throat, which interesting. It's like, our throat chakra being choked off, not having a voice. This is such big stuff that is unfolding when women start stepping out and talking about their experiences. I want to mention, and I hope I'm making sense so far, because I really want to, this is about being called out, leaders, male leaders being called out on sexual misconduct. I had a dream with processing this yesterday and finding out about all this, about these women coming forward and talking about this sexual misconduct by a leader. Just really processing a lot, went to bed, and I had this dream, and I woke up exhausted this morning because the dream, I was screaming. So I'm going to tell you about that dream. But some of the things that I wrote, it comes down to this. Men shouldn't be in a position of power unless they can keep their penis in their pants. All right. So lots of processing is going on. As these communities go through these exposures, like I was part of the Kundalini community as well. And maybe, I don't know, I'm just on the fringe of it because I don't belong to, I'm kind of a free radical, but I go into these communities and I learn a tremendous amount of really powerful spiritual stuff. I got certified as a Kundalini yoga teacher. And then, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, maybe, was it now, that it got exposed that Yogi Bhajan was doing some sexual misconduct, abuse of power with younger women. So we live in a man's world, but this is changing. As these women step forward, it is changing. And I want to say that the feminine, not the women and men, the feminine operates on a more refined level. And so what maybe the masculine thinks is just normal and natural. I love that one. It's natural. The sex act is natural. Well, what kind of sex act is natural? So the masculine operates on a very friction-based physical level. The feminine operates on a very subtle level. So what might be normal and natural and unaffected by the masculine will pound and destroy the feminine. And this is what's awakening now, is this need for this greater awareness of this softer, gentler side. You know, there's this thing that I recently learned about called micro-cheating. And the feminine, or, you know, female intuition, knows when her man is cheating because she feels it on an energetic level. And then she's called crazy. So she can energetically feel this. But he says, I'm not doing anything. If she calls him out, and then she feels like she loses her, she starts, well, it's gaslighting. She loses her self-confidence. She doubts herself. But it's actually happening because she's tuning into that subtle level. So this all is just kind of coming out because it all needs to be balanced, a balance of power. Yes, that physical and that force and that physical world, that's the best way to, you know, friction, right? We need that, yes. And we also need this subtle part. We need that to be held as well. We need that to be awakened. So, you know, this idea that men shouldn't be in power if they don't know how to keep their penises in their pants, especially if they are influential to younger women. So because a woman is not a toy, and you know, when younger women are coming into their sexuality, they are juicy, they are beautiful, they are gorgeous. They're at probably at the height, kind of in a sense, of their physical outer beauty, but they're very vulnerable. And then, you know, well, you know, I mean, I think about, what did I know in my 20s? I didn't know anything. I had to go through a lot of hard knocks to get to where I'm at now. And I still don't even know if I know a lot about relationship and sexuality. There's so much to learn, and I've studied it. But, you know, I love this one. You know, well, let me say this. Younger women are easy targets. So when we have a discrepancy of age of like 25 years, men should know better. Men should know better. They should know better. Oh, no, she should know better. She should have known better. What does a 20-year-old know about sex? How should she know better? Maybe her father abused her. Maybe her uncle abused her. Maybe her mother looked the other way. You know, this pattern of power over, and this isn't just happening, and I don't want to say just male and female, but I'm giving this as an example. A powerful man over a innocent young woman, inexperienced woman. 25 years of life is a big, long time of experience. So how should she know better? You know, I was having this conversation with my honeyman. You know, and I'm saying it wasn't, you know, she was consenting. Well, it should be consent. It should be consent. You know, if it's consent, then there's no problem. Not if she doesn't know better. How should she know better? Especially if she grew up and that was the norm. Like her father maybe looked at her, or her uncle abused her, or who knows, like I said. The mother looked the other way. This is a very generational pattern that needs to be healed and is actually healing. But this thing of this happening in our families, in our structures, in our systems, of this abuse of power is happening now. It's happening now. And that's why it's so beautiful that all of this is coming out. That younger women are having enough wherewithal to call out and voice, this isn't right for me. But this idea of she should have known better. She was leading him on. How should she know better? What kind of education do we have? What education do we actually have in place to educate a woman when she is flowering into her sexuality? What do we learn in the educational systems around sexuality? When I was in learning my sex ed class, I learned fear of STDs and fear of pregnancy. I didn't learn the sacredness of sexuality. I had to pay big money in my certification program to learn about it. I had to, prior to that, have a lot of wounding in relationship. So no, how could she know better? How could she know better if she's young and she's innocent? There's a thing called erotic innocence, and it gets taken away at a very young age because our sexuality isn't held culturally in a safe container. Nobody's sexuality is held in a safe container. We're learning that, but we need systems and structures that will help support the flowering of one's sexuality. That's a ripe age. That's a vulnerable age when the young ones are going through puberty. What's in place for them? Teachers that have their own sexual shame, that haven't done any sexual healing. That's what we have right now. Not many have done sexual healing. Okay, so this is still happening. It's happening now. The abuse of power, men taking advantage of the innocence of younger women, just is happening. And it's really now time for us to understand that it's not her fault. That it's not her fault. She doesn't have there's no systems and structures in place to educate the younger people. It's getting better, but the old way, this has been happening. This abuse of power has been happening for centuries and centuries and centuries. So as we come out, as we start speaking and having a voice, we clear this energy, we heal this dynamic. I forgot, I wanted to share my dream. So I've been processing this since I talked to some of the women yesterday. And I went to bed and I had a dream, and I woke up this morning, and it was actually towards the end of my waking hours where I had the dream. And it was, I was going to the bathroom, and I looked out the window. There was a window in the bathroom, and I saw a man looking at me. He looked like Hitler, like a Hitler soldier or something like that. And I think I made I thought I was safe. I thought I was safe. It's so funny how when you voice dreams, you get more. I thought I was safe, so I kind of looked at him. I looked at him back, and then I was buttoning up my pants, and I don't know, I maybe made some funny motion when I buttoned my pants, and then he walked over to the front of the door. The door was still closed, but somehow I knew that he was on the other side of the door. And I started screaming. And, it's in the dreams where you can't really scream. And I finally was able to scream. So this was in this dream. I actually, typically in a dream you can't scream, and maybe it wakes you up, but I was in the dream and I was able to work through that inability to scream, and I started screaming and screaming. And I guess that was and someone else came along because I was screaming. And the thing that happened was I didn't do anything. The guy said, "Why are you screaming?" I didn't do anything. And I said, because I wanted to prevent anything from happening. Wow. So the way I see this dream is that we want to be heard, and not only heard, but understood. All voices are welcome if they come from a place of love, if they come from a place of already having processed your rage and your sadness and come from a place of clarity. So that dream for me was really profound. Even sharing it with you is really profound. I woke up exhausted from the dream. Women just want a voice. They want to be heard and understood. Men, you want to be heard and understood as well. It's time for us all to start putting aside the unprocessed emotions. Process the emotions in safety, and then come out with a voice. Come out with what you really want to say. And what I really want to say is there needs to be a balance of power. There needs to be a safe place for sexuality to be expressed in a way that empowers us all. And the voices need to be heard for those that have been taken advantage of. Enough is enough. Women are over it. It's time for change. Thank you for listening. This was really vulnerable for me to share this. So if you'd like to share this video, I welcome you to do so. All right. I can feel this, the visceralness of this in my body. We have these memories in all of us of this abuse. It's time for us to now come to a softer, more caring, more loving place with each other. Women just want to be heard. Listen to them. They have a lot of wisdom to share. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.